Hi, welcome back to my channel. Today we'll be discussing Limited Run by Eeej. If you haven't already, click the subscribe button now and get your BL Library card for the BL Library. Before we get started, there will be spoilers, so if you don't want to be spoiling this manhwa, go ahead and click off now. No worries, I'll catch you next time. For those of you who've stuck around, let's go over some content warnings. There may be references to power imbalance, sex work, specifically sex in exchange for favors, violence, gang activity, extortion, financial abuse, blood, gossiping, invasion of privacy, sexual assault, self-deprecation, possible gambling addiction, excessive drinking, immense debt, slut-shaming, dubcon, arranged marriage, not between the main couple, bullying, homomesia, rape, death, strained familial relationships, blackmail, corruption, mentions of suicide, murder, age gap, drug use, drugging, body shaming, BDSM, victim blaming, hit and run resulting in death, disordered eating, mentions of dieting, overwork, mentions of cheating, not between the main couple, car accidents, starvation, and kidnapping, as these things do appear in the manhwa. But if that's all good with you, let's go and get started. Before I proceed, shout out to the user below for letting me know this was completed so I could finally go back, binge, and then review it. If you have a title you think I should give a go, don't hesitate to let me know. Comment below! Yano is not just a struggling actor. As the eldest son in his family, he's compelled to try and pay off his father's never-ending gambling debt, constantly compounded and recurring thanks to loan sharks who willingly lend him money. They know his father can't pay it off, but they also know Yano will do what he can to pay it off, including providing them sexual favors. His life is a never-ending rat race, and he sees no end to it until he gets invited to speak to the CEO of the conglomerate Haikang. There's no doubt what a CEO wants with a struggling actor. It's a sponsorship, which equates to a celebrity being showered with gifts and opportunities in exchange for, often, sexual and physical favors. Yano initially wants to refuse, but after being pressured by his father, he decides to go. The CEO, Jae-hyuk, decides to make the offer, but Jae-hyuk tells Yano what he expects. He doesn't want just simple physical pleasure, though that would be part of it. He wants Yano to use his acting skills to pretend to be his boyfriend in public. As it turns out, Jae-hyuk is determined to rebel against his grandfather and tear down the upper echelon of his company's public image. The ultimate goal is to ruin his grandfather, though for what reason, Yano doesn't know. The two start off rocky, with Yano struggling to put on a front in public, but over time, it grows easier. And as lucrative work starts coming in, Yano's life takes a positive turn. Neither Jae-hyuk nor Yano realizes that there is a growing target on Yano's back, not just from Jae-hyuk's family, but all of the people watching Yano. Meanwhile, Yano is beginning to struggle not with acting or being Jae-hyuk's bedmate, he's struggling with his own feelings. What started as an act is slowly beginning to feel like reality. While he knows Jae-hyuk has no intention of being with him for real, Yano can't help feeling hopeful that Jae-hyuk cares about him as a real lover somewhere deep inside. So it's been a long time since I've read an Eeej title. My first was The Good Teacher, and wow has their style grown. The Good Teacher was entirely black and white until the side stories, which were full color but looked really rough in comparison to the rest of the work. This, however, is full color all the way through, and while you can definitely see the resemblance from The Good Teacher, it could easily be mistaken for an entirely different artist. It's amazing how efficiently artists can develop their skills, and this is no exception. However, I wouldn't say this is my favorite style ever. The shape of the faces is a bit weird to me, especially from the side or partial side profiles, but it's a very pretty style overall. I'm just nitpicky. Thankfully, from season 2 onward, it gets even better and more consistent, and it's definitely worth seeing even more amazing growth from this artist. Unfortunately, on the story side of things, it does meander a bit. I get the sense this had multiple iterations before we got the story of Limited Run that we have now. There are moments when Jae-hyuk and Yano are said to have known each other in the past, and we get a brief look at Jae-hyuk in his younger years, but that goes pretty much nowhere. I imagine this was intended to initially be a setup for some past pining or friendship when they were younger, but we never see it again. The only time their connection in the past is brought up again is when Jae-hyuk reveals that he picked Yano because Yano's father worked under his family and was given some information about his family's corruption and criminal activities. While it makes sense that they needed to lay the foundation for the reveal, the implications of those moments feel more important than they ended up being, which was disappointing, and it makes me wonder if there was some intention to make them more important than they ultimately were. Furthermore, the the ending was a bit lackluster, and I wish we could have seen more development from Jae-hyuk's side of things. There's a very emotional moment where Jae-hyuk finally comes to terms with his feelings for Yano, and Yano breaks down, expressing how much he wanted to hear that, but also how much it pained him to want, only to inevitably be cast aside. It's very sweet and emotional, and ends with them embracing. But right after, we're sent to some time in the future on a beach film set. During a break, Jae-hyuk and Yano enjoy some time together, walking down the beach and being cute, and then it ends. That's it. After all of the pain and struggle Yano experienced, and some of the cruelest but softest moments with Jae-hyuk, I was hoping for something more powerful. We see hints of Jae-hyuk's devotion in the ending, but nowhere near the amount I think was warranted after all of the build-up throughout the series. It was rather disappointing and left me painfully wanting. But that ending did make me super pumped about the special episodes. Unfortunately, it's not a continuation of the main story, but I was even more pumped when I realized the story's premise. It's historical, builds a legend where a maiden marries a dragon god, and it's even uncensored. Yet, much like the main story, it ends in such a rush. It's only 4 episodes long, so I wasn't expecting much, but I was hoping for a more emotional and intense ending to make up for the main story. That, unfortunately, wasn't the case here. After historical Yano gives his body over to the dragon god, Jae-hyuk, for a night in exchange for rain, he heads down to his village to share the good news, only to be captured by those who assume he ran away from the dragon god. They decide to take him to the cliff over the ocean to sacrifice him that way, but of course, Jae-hyuk appears in his dragon form, punishes those villagers, and then takes Yano away to be his bride, and that's it. We don't get a wedding or anything like that, and it all ends within a couple panels. I wouldn't say it's as disappointing as the main story since it's so short already, but I was still sad nonetheless. With all that being said, this has a lot of good things going for it. We get the dark side of the entertainment industry, a wealthy red flag benefactor, a desperate beautiful bottom, and then shitty families surrounding them to add even more tension, pain, and cruelty. It's the foundation of a dark BL with a tale as old as time that builds and builds but ends up fizzling. I do still think this is worth reading if you don't mind darker storylines, especially if you like lots and lots of painful sex, a red flag that flips and gets revenge for himself and his lover, and entertainment storylines, but don't expect it to stick the landing. So, have you read Limited Run? If so, what do you think? Do you agree with my assessment? Do you not? Let me know and comment below. Otherwise, I'll catch you next time. Bye!